And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing here on NoFilter.net and, of course, Caffeine TV, the various other platforms that the program is carried on. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with a very vibrant and happy Mike Lubie Lubitz. It's a little tough early in the morning. It really is. We're used to far more torturous situations than this. Remember, we used to get up at like 4 in the morning and then drive to work?
Yes.
Do 4 hours on the radio? How the hell? I mean, you look back on your life sometimes and you think to yourself, how the fuck did I do that? All those years, and I look forward to it, too. That's the strange part. I guess it beats working at a real job, that's for sure. Nobody in this industry should ever complain about anything, no matter what your status is. I mean, even if you have one viewer, and that viewer refuses to put up a single dime to help you out make your way through life, it's still better than working a real job. That we can say with pure and honest and true 100% conviction. All right. Wow. Interesting all the way around. Yesterday, by the way, or I guess it might be today, is the anniversary, the 44th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. Do you believe in miracles?
Oh, wow. Really? Jeez.
I believe so. Lake Placid, 1980, February. I'm going to say it was February 22nd, Lubie, just to make the story more interesting and more compelling and more relevant to today. This was pointed out to me by a good friend of ours, Jim Sarney, who's usually watching junior varsity women's spearfishing from Accra, Ghana. Did they spearfish there? I don't even know. We're just making this stuff up. But the guy is into a lot of obscure stuff and is always telling us that we're blowing it, that we're not providing the public with the kind of material that they're looking for, because all we ever do is talk about the National Football League, which what we try to stay away from. During the football season, obviously it's a dominant thing. Hell, like 2 billion people watched the commercials in the Super Bowl, even though the first half of the game wasn't all that riveting in terms of action. Still, the drama was hanging out there. And let's face it, it's far more popular than reminding people of the time Brian Boitano was in third place and skated his way to the gold medal in whatever Olympic Games that was. And in fact, I mean, there aren't that many memorable moments in Winter Olympics history, are they? Are there? I mean, think about it. What do you remember? You remember some skating stuff, the Tanya Harding thing?
Ice skating, obviously. Speed skating is a Winter Olympics, right?
Speed skating, yeah. They wouldn't do that in the summertime. Eric Heiden, he had like 6 gold medals. He was great.
Dan Jansen, Bonnie Blair. So my childhood was that. I remember that well. I'm not skating, Michelle Kwan.
You always thought if you could skate, which I can't, that you would want to do one of those things, be on one of those tracks there and just skate your brains out right into the record books. And then there was Dick Button, of course, one of the great color analysts of all time in any sport, the great Dick Button, who would get a hard on, literally, right? Would get a Woody over a triple sow cow. Like, here he comes, here he comes. What the fuck is this guy talking about? I don't know, but he made it exciting, even if it wasn't. Even if the person fell down and splattered their face all over the boards. You were thinking, wow, I mean, that Button really, really made that seem like the degree of difficulty was extremely high for this upcoming, what would you call it? Maneuver? A trick?
Yes.
It's not really a trick. It's more of a maneuver. Yeah.
Maneuver, yeah.
To me, it's a trick, man. You go to the ice follies there with your kids, your grandkids, or whatever, and you're thinking, man, that was nice. I saw that in the Winter Olympics. I remember Al Michaels describing it, which is the big debate about this whole thing. Now, we've had this debate forever, and we can't get a straight answer out of anybody. The Michaels defenders will swear that was totally ad-libbed, that out of the spur of the moment and the excitement, he just shouted out as it appeared that the United States was going to beat. They had just gotten shellacked, I think, at Madison Square Garden in an exhibition prior to the Winter Olympics by these Russians who were completely professional. I mean, they may as well have just lined up as the Detroit Red Wings, this Russian team out of 1980. And they had just played an exhibition. I believe the U.S. lost 10-2 in that game. Remember they had the quirky coach, Herb Brooks?
Yes.
Who we learned was far more quirky than we ever could have imagined as time wore on. And he ended up coaching at various levels, college and the pros. And I don't know that he ever measured up to the excitement that he created by taking a bunch of jabronis.
Yes.
Off college campuses and, at different sources where he got these players. They weren't the pros like the Russians were. A polished, disciplined, professional team. They didn't do anything else. They didn't have to have jobs. They didn't go to school. They didn't have to go out there and make money. They didn't have to battle the economy. They were just highly paid, trained professional athletes. Shellacked the U.S. team 10-2 at Madison Square Garden like a week or so prior to the Olympic Games, and they lose 4-3. And at the big moment, Here's Al Michaels on the microphone. And Michaels, look, like him or not, as a senile old man, he's still competent. He's very professional. He has the kind of voice and delivery that makes you think, okay, this guy's really at ease with what he's doing. He doesn't get carried away. He's not hollering Kevin Harlan or one of these maniacs like Gus Johnson. So perfectly acceptable to me. I mean, and when you really get down to it, I mean, for the amount of money and the amount of homage that is paid to NFL play-by-play announcers, and we have many of them that we really, really like. Iron Eagle happens to be a hoot. Far, away from the guy that you see on screen with his sarcastic, comedic timing that he has. I mean, he easily could have succeeded in other genres of entertainment besides being a play-by-play guy, which he happens to be very good at. But, you don't hear him screaming like a maniac after some guy goes for 2 yards up the middle on the opening play. Can you believe the pace of this game? No, Gus, why are you hemorrhaging? Unbelievable. Gus Johnson. A lot of people like Gus Johnson. Might be a very likable guy, but Jesus, he annoying as a play-by-play announcer. Michaels was never that. I mean, Michaels was always very smooth. And how difficult is it to go, there's a gain of 6. It'll be 2nd and 4. And then the color analyst, whoever it happens to be, if it's Greg Olson, he's just slobbering on for the next 20 minutes. If it's Tony Romo, you don't even know what he's talking about. You don't know if you're sitting next to a $1.8 million a game color announcer or some homeless guy that they just picked up off the streets there in Los Angeles. Say, hey, we want to do a ball game? Come on, we need somebody. We need another voice on there. But did Michaels make that up on the spur of the moment, Lubie, or did he have it written down in case the U.S. somehow pulled off one of the all-time great upsets in sports history? Do you have it written down? Do you believe in miracles? Yes. What do you think? What is your after years of talking about this? What is your speculation about that?
I mean, I know you're like really weird about it. I tend to feel like he
didn't make that up at the spur of the moment, did he? I mean, if he did, it was a pure stroke of poetic genius, my friend.
I feel like if he didn't make it up on the spot, I don't think he had the whole thing written out. I think maybe he had an idea.
I mean, you could hear, Russ Hodges, saying the Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. That was spur of the moment stuff, right? It wasn't like he sat there and planned on this miracle comeback and the Bobby Thompson home run shot heard around the world. Few people could have anticipated that the United States, after getting shellacked like they did in the previous game, we're going to beat the mighty Russians. Now, this wasn't even the championship game. That's the odd thing about that. That's a trivia question you can almost always stump somebody with, because everybody thought that won the title for him, especially with the embellishment of the call. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. He had that written down on his sleeve, Lubie. What are you talking about? You're going to alibi for Al Michaels, who never has admitted to this. And I would imagine, how come there's not some congressional inquiry into this? They have so many other meaningless congressional inquiries. Where are, all of these right-wing Republicans when it comes to Al Michaels and the claim that he ad-libbed a line, do you believe in miracles? Anyway, we don't mean to be obsessed with that. It was a phenomenal accomplishment. It was 44 fucking years ago, and we can't let it go. Unbelievable. We were talking about this the other day, and I'm watching some teams. They have the clips. I don't know. Do they limit what television stations, local TV stations, and even national networks can do when it comes to videoing spring training exercises? Maybe. Is it that they only let them show you the players doing nothing? Or is it that, as we theorized the other day on another show, that from our observation, and we used to do, at least one show a year from the Marlins spring training site.
Yes.
I've been doing that since the inception of the team, almost without exception. And sure enough, when you watch these players, and we're out there all morning long, they come out, they're in very early. They come out, of the clubhouse there, the locker room, seems like about 7:30, before 8 o'clock in the morning, right? They're out there on the field. And what do, Lubie? Nothing. It's amazing. It's no wonder that half the roster of most teams in the major leagues is on IR in the first month of the season. All it's stuff that would relate to not doing anything during spring training to get ready for the season. Now, this isn't the era anymore where guys had jobs in the offseason. Yogi Berra was like pumping gas in the offseason. The Mick was selling insurance. Roger Maris was working at a hot dog stand. This is an era where it's baseball 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The players don't have anything else they really need to concentrate on except how to spend the zillions of dollars they're making. As we mentioned yesterday, if Gary Sanchez is worth $7 million a year, right? This is one time that absurdity of a hypothetical applies. What would Willie Mays have been worth?
Honestly, yeah.
Oh my God, Gary Sanchez, he strikes out. I mean, he comes to the plate with 2 strikes on him. That's how bad this guy is. And as we said, I mean, he can't catch a watermelon from 2 feet away. If Gallagher was in front of this guy, he wouldn't be able to catch a single piece. Guy's, literally got no glove. He's probably the modern day version of the great Dick Stewart, the late great Dick Stewart, Dr. Strangeglove at first base, one of the great nicknames of all time. But what are they doing to get in shape? And then, never mind the fundamentals that are lost on Major League Baseball players, which you're asking yourself, how on earth? It's just like how guys could be really lousy free throw shooters in the NBA.
Yep.
This is your fucking job. How could you be bereft of any knowledge whatsoever of the simplest of fundamental strategies of the game? Where, you're always seeing a guy throw to the wrong base or, overshoot the cutoff man by 100 miles because he wants to make some throw to the plate that's never going to get a guy. And in the meantime, the other guys are just mamboing around the bases as this throw is coming in. Usually goes all the way back to the screen. The pitcher has his hands on the ball. That's always an unfavorable situation. But what are they doing in spring training, Lubie? I mean, from your observation, remember we used to see these guys on the field for like 3 hours,
Yep.
and they're just all standing around. No wonder they all get hurt. What constitutes the preparations for the baseball season that at the beginning of the year, you have guys constantly pulling muscles, right? I mean, what's the over-under on Giancarlo Stanton? I mean, he's trimmed down. He's in shape. They're showing all kinds of pictures of him. It's kind of like when Muhammad Ali fought Larry Holmes many years ago. And the day before the fight, they show a picture of a ripped Muhammad Ali who had been bloated for his last several fights and didn't look like even a reasonable facsimile of the young Ali that we saw that lit up the universe there with his exciting style as a heavyweight. I mean, who moved like that? Nobody. Didn't have the biggest punch in the world, except for that one, right? Which I saw a couple of more times. I was watching some Ali documentaries, a couple of very good ones. One's called When We Were Kings, and that's kind of centering around the Foreman fight, which, I mean, so many things were happening and evolving around this. Boxing had a much more prominent place in influencing people's opinion about life itself, I think, back in that era. Excellent documentary. And then Ken Burns, who's the king of all documentary filmmakers, you would say, with apologies to our good friend Billy Corbin, Cocaine Cowboys, etc. But Ken Burns documentary, I mean, is just an absolute work of art. I mean, it's the Citizen Kane of documentaries, even though, and I say that, see, here I'm accusing Al Michaels of being a phony all of those years and not admitting that he wrote that line down. But, I mean, I say that without ever liking Citizen Kane as a movie. I thought it was a piece of shit. What did you think?
I just don't know if I call it the greatest film ever. I guess they did certain things at that time that didn't exist.
The hell was that?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I'm not from that time. It was.
Imagine you go to the theater now and they don't tell you it's Citizen Kane, the fabled movie, the standard by which all other movies should be judged. And you watch this and you think, what was that trick? My God, I want my money back. You'd be strangling the guy at the box office before the next crowd came in saying, yeah, what the fuck? I want my money back. So maybe that wasn't the greatest reference. I don't know. I mean, if you ask, 100 people what the greatest movie of all time was, how many would come up with Citizen Kane? Probably just those that spent a lot of money on a useless education in college.
Yeah.
Or nobody. I mean, and it would be 97 different answers to that question. So tough one to go ahead and quantify in that fashion, the best movie ever. But, if you're watching a movie on spring training, you would see these guys literally doing nothing. Now we know in the NFL they're not ready for the regular season. And degenerate gamblers would tell you, hey, don't bet the first month of the regular season because you don't know who the hell's in shape.
Yep.
And in Major League Baseball, it amazes me every year how many guys are injured with the kind of stuff that you would normally be able to, condition yourself to at least try to stave off. I mean, should you not be running somewhere? Well, not everybody runs at top speed anymore in Major League Baseball. You see a lot of guys jogging around the bases, admiring their shot. Hey, look at that. They hit the ball. What the hell happened to this game? My God, Lubie. But, the shots of spring training, unless they're just limiting the video access that people have, these guys do nothing to get ready for the season. And they spend a long time doing it, don't they?
Yes.
They play like 30 preseason games, for God's sake.
Training's a lot of games. Yep.
Then the first day, your top starter goes out needing Tommy John. two of your big-time hitters pull hamstrings running to first base, trying to jog their way to first on their way to try and feign like they want to beat out a grounder. And, I mean, the manager's already making excuses for some of the absolute blundered plays where, the simplest understanding and concept of strategies of Major League Baseball. You don't have to be Bill James to figure this out. What you would think a professional ball player, just like we were talking about. I mean, an NBA player should be able to make free throws. A Major League Baseball player should be able to lay down a bunt or hit the ball the opposite way. They have to make rules to go ahead and inhibit defenses from doing what they want to do, which is defend.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Absolutely insane. But spring training, I can't wait to bet my first game. You can't even bet regular season games anymore, counting on the starting pitchers, because they don't go more than 6 innings, period. I mean, even by design, guys having a no-hitter and the manager's in the dugout. Well, I don't know if he's going to pull him or not. Like, pull him, he's throwing 39 pitches.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. I mean, they got everything set up. You got your setup man, you got your closer, you got your pre-setup guy. You got like all of these Meshuggah roles that are being played. And yet they're never ready for the regular season, even after all of these workouts in spring training. It's pretty amazing. All right, big upset. This is something we were talking about, the NCAA tournament and how impossible it is to select teams. I mean, you couldn't have come up with those Final Four teams last year, could you? You might have seen UConn steamrolling its way through the Big East tournament and playing really good basketball at the end of the year. Okay, might have been able to concede them a spot in there. FAU, hello. University of Miami certainly didn't look like a Final Four team, and they didn't look like it, what was that, just last night when they were getting shellacked by Duke? I'm using the word shellacked a lot, but I mean, there's been a lot of hideous, ugly clubbing of seals type of beatings in sports. But I saw a stat last night, and this came after Illinois was upset by an unranked Penn State team as they went on a road that ranked teams going against unranked teams on the road this year. It's the worst percentage that there has ever been in the history of the game, I believe, going all the way back to like Naismith. So that just shows you the parity continues to evolve to the level where, I mean, even some schmenk team that has nobody on it that's being regarded by any other league than maybe Tunisia. They're capable of beating teams and have all kinds of studs and highly paid NIL guys. So it's wide open, as we said, especially after watching Creighton beat UConn the other day. Wide open, my friends. We're really going to have to zero in on this. If you can come up with some kind of an edge, right, before the tournament, scouting some of these schmenk teams, who would have had Fairleigh Dickinson? Did anybody have that? Straight up, Fairleigh Dickinson on the money line over Purdue last year.
No.
In the first round of the tournament. You got to be kidding.
No way.
Nobody can predict this shit, and that's why, I don't know, we will make a futile attempt to try and zero in on something that we can give you, something you could sink your teeth into on the NCAA tournament. Messi last night, the debut of the MLS. Does anybody care? Is this not like LeBron running G League ball at this stage of his career? If he just dropped down to the G League, became a two-way player, he's in Sioux Falls one day, Miami the next. Nice little change there in terms of atmosphere anyway. But imagine the nightlife in Sioux Falls versus Miami, and you're going out with the guys that have been running with the Heat now for the last several years, and they know that Spoelstra will never say anything to them because you're Bam Adebayo, man. You want to go out all night and party? That's fine. Heat culture, right up the ass. That's what you have. But, I mean, isn't that the equivalent of it? What would it be? It would be like Aaron Judge going down to Double-A in a rehab assignment or something, and he's crushing balls 600 feet at a time, and the crowds are swelling because of the fact you actually have a legitimate ball player down there. But, I mean, is Messi in the MLS not the equivalent of that? I would think. So, some guy in the NHL, going down to Austin Matthews going down to the juniors and playing, or maybe playing in Czechoslovakia with a 90-year-old Jaromir Jagr. I mean, come on. Everybody gets excited, man. They all got ghost because he had an assist in this game. Dribbling a ball and went off some other guy's head and landed on the foot of a guy with the goalie. He yelled, "Your mother," and the guy dove this way, and the ball went right in the net. So, what is that? I mean, I don't know what to make of it. And it's right here in our hometown. Messi mania happening. People are crazy. All right, we got to run. A lot of fun being with you on today's edition of the Morning Briefing. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We want to thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you again tomorrow with a Degenerate Friday edition of the program. Try and pick some winners for you. And until then, thanks for tuning in to today's edition of the Morning Briefing.